Hello and welcome to Leanne's Weekly Weigh-In. I am Leanne and this week on those Slimming World scales I lost half a pound, which I probably would have been a little bit but last week around about this time, I think it was Sunday, my friend Tess, I'm in a group with Tess, she does Slimming World at home and there's a whole group where she lives of people who I know. I met Tess through Ravelry and we went to the knitting and stitching show together a couple of years ago and we've become friends ever since. And she posted this and I was really quite surprised actually. It was about how much half a pound looks like. Now we've all seen that visceral fat, and although we don't have it in our group in Greenwich, we did have it when I was at the Weight Watchers group. These visceral fats, you know, like this is what half a pound looks like, and this is what a full pound of fat looks like, visceral fat, and it looks really rubbery and it's heavy and you pick it up but actually, although it is a visual representation, that really doesn't do anything for us because we don't physically see visceral fat. We don't actually think about it unless we're watching something like, I don't know, My £600 Life or 1,000 Pound Sisters, which I'm really enjoying at the moment, I have to say, where they're having the operations and you see all of the fat being pulled out and all that sort of thing when you watch that on the telly. That's the only time we get to see that sort of thing. Not that we don't always like to see that sort of thing. Some of us, it gives us a bit of a weak stomach over. But to physically see something like lard or butter, because it was around 250 grams. I went to the shop. I actually wanted to go and buy some, but I couldn't find any. I'm sure I'd have found it in Asda, but I didn't go to Asda this weekend. And it's been I've had a really crazy week. I've been in the office all this week, so it's been really, really crazy. Hence why I wasn't able to post earlier on this week. But to physically see that, I went into M&S and to see if they had lard. I didn't think they would have lard. They didn't have lard. They had butter though, and it's exactly the same principle. It's 250. Well, I actually worked it out. It's 228 grams. That is how much lard or butter or whatever that half a pound is. So imagine that. Now that's what you slap on yourself if you're going to go down to Dover and swim the English Channel to France. Not that I'm going to do that, never going to do that, but you see them, they stick it on them, don't they, to conserve the heat, or you can stick it in your pastry and it makes your pastries nice and fluffy. But I always think that's a bit of an oxymoron. It makes your pastry really light and fluffy, yet it's really bad for you. But yeah, I was really impressed. So I had that in my head when we were going round in group, and I went to the later group on Monday because, as I said, I've been in the office all this week, and it's been and I was working later, so I couldn't get to the earlier group. And I was in great company because a lot of people this week only lost half a pound, and they were all quite miserable about it. But I lost a pound. That's actually, I said, you know, that's actually like a lump of lard. That's a block of lard. And Amy, and I'm going to read this to you, read out this poem, which I thought was really nice. I have not written this poem. I am not a poet laureate, but this is the poem, and it's called Half a Pound. Half a pound is wonderful. Half a pound is great. Imagine half a pound of lard just sitting there on your plate. All those halves, they all add up and get you to where you want to be. So don't be sad, don't be blue. Instead say, well done me. So I was really impressed with that. You know, Amy shared that and I said, can I use that in my video? And she said, yes. So I thought that was really, really nice. And lots of people lost half a pound. And I think it's one of those things, when you see other people losing around you, they're losing a pound and you only lose half a pound. You don't think it's that much, but if it's a continual weight loss, you know it's definitely fat that's going, it's not water. And throughout the whole month, there is always 1 week that I lose half a pound. And I also feel that because I haven't been doing a lot of body magic recently, because since coming back from Christmas, it's been really dark and cold and you know, and I've been working from home a lot. I haven't really moved as much as I originally intended to, and I do want to change that because I want to get my gold certificate for my body magic. But yeah, you know, I was really okay with it, and I think that you must think about that when you're having a slow week, and just know that it's going in the right direction. So I have lost in total £32, which is amazing, and I am nearer to my goal of 143. And the other thing is that I am exactly 12 stone, which means, fingers crossed, if everything goes okay tomorrow at the weigh-in, I will be in the next stone zone. So I'm looking forward to jumping on those scales tomorrow to see what's happening. I have had a massively busy week this week in the office, and I've been a little bit blue. You know, my eye was a bit manky last week. I ended up getting like a conjunctivitis type thing, and it ended up going really small and stuck together, and yuck, disgusting. So you got me at the best on Friday. If I'd have done it on Sunday, you wouldn't have liked it. I'd have had to have put a patch on or something. I've worked all this week really late. We had an awards ceremony this week for social mobility stuff I'm doing at work. Really enjoyed it. Met some amazing people. I've had an absolutely fantastic week at work. Loved it. But it's just been really crazy. And then yesterday, Paul and I met up with my friend Tulin, and we did do some body magic. We walked we went from West London all the way into the Regent's Canal the other way. We actually went to Kensal Green Cemetery. Now, Kensal Green Cemetery, it might sound a bit morbid, but it was fantastic. It's one of the old Victorian cemeteries in London, and there are several of them. And Paul will tell you, I can't ever remember what they are, but I do remember one of them is Highgate Cemetery, one of them is Brompton Cemetery, Kensal Green Cemetery, and I don't know what the other ones are, but they're the ones that they're the old Victorian cemeteries. They have the mausoleums in them, and they also have the catacombs in there. You can have a guided tour. You can also they have like an open day as well, where you can actually go and visit the catacombs. It sounds morbid, but it's fascinating. The architecture is beautiful, and the stone masonry, oh my goodness. I didn't actually take photographs because my phone died, and I'm not very good at taking pictures, hence the Instagram thing's not really that great. However, Tulin and Paul are both amazing at taking pictures, and I stole their pictures. I did ask them, and I put them on my Instagram feed, so go and have a look, because it was really, really lovely just to see. I've put them, all the Kensal Green Cemetery ones together. So if you are ever in London, go and do the Victorian cemeteries, because they're really great. I think there's one in East London as well, a cemetery around there as well. I can't remember what one that is, but it might be Stepney actually. I don't know. I'll ask Paul, and perhaps I'll come back next week. But yeah, we had a really great time. Then we walked the other end of the Regent's Canal, all round the Westway towards Paddington, then across the water down Regent's Park, round the back of London Zoo, all the way up through to Camden. We saw the floating Chinese restaurant, which was really, really beautiful. We went all the way to Camden. We were going to go to a Vietnamese restaurant, but it was closed when we got there at 3. It was opening again at 6. So we went and did some. We went down the market, and there's another photo on there which I loved. It was beautiful. It was all of these umbrellas, and they were just swaying in the wind, and it was all branded Camden Market, but they were pink and they were orange and they were yellow, and it was so beautiful. And Tulin took a photograph of us underneath these umbrellas of Paul and I. It's a really lovely one. So go and have a look, because I really, really like that. We then went to where did we go for dinner? We went to Wagamama's. I'm going to talk to you about that when we have our little talk on Syns later. So I went to Wagamama's, and then we walked all the way back from Camden, down Mornington Crescent, down Tottenham Court Road, towards Covent Garden, then all the way to St Paul's, back to Cannon Street, and then got the train home. We actually walked yesterday 10 miles, which was not as much as compared to last time when we went East London to Camden, but it was a great thing. I absolutely love walking the Regent's Canal. It is beautiful, and what I love about it is you can get to talk to whoever you're walking with, and you can really bond. It's a really great way. Tool and I really caught up, but Paul and I love to go and walk and talk about what's been going on, and it's just a really great way of bonding. Then when you suddenly get in with all of the people, it's a bit crazy because you feel like you've been dawdling along and then suddenly you're in this mass of people. But that's what we did yesterday. So yeah, so we have had some body magic, so I might see that on the scales tomorrow. Right, so that was my week. So what are we going to talk about this evening? We are going to go through some of the offers. We've got some offers this week, and I'm going to talk to you all about what's going on in the slimming world. In the world of Slimming World, I've got my notes here. What else am I going to go through? We're going to have our last talk. Well, actually, our penultimate talk. We're going to do our last talk of the book, but then next week we'll talk about body magic. But we're going to go through Syns. So if you want to hang around and listen to what I have to say about Syns and how we should sin, or why we shouldn't sin, or how we should just go to confession. It's Sunday. It's the right time to talk about sinning. Anyway, that's what we're going to do today. And I said to you I'll do like a giveaway or a little competition at the end. So we'll do something, and I'll throw some bits and pieces into it. So let's go into the offers. Let's start with this. This is a magazine that I would probably not buy. It is for it. Yours is one of the magazines which is for a certain age group. There's, I think, My Weekly is the other one. The lady as well. It's for the twilight years, I think, or the encore generation, or what else do we call them? The winter months or the autumnal months, the autumnal season. Not sort of a magazine that I would normally read, but the voucher is in it. However, I sometimes think, I don't know whether or not. Actually, no, it's not that. Yes, look, here we go. They sometimes have knitting patterns in there, so that's quite exciting. Oh no, it's not. Oh no, there we go. Look, a knitted doorstop. Wow, I didn't read this. Oh, perhaps I'll keep it after all. That's quite nice, actually. It's quite doody. Oh, I might have knitted that. There you go. Yeah. Not many magazines actually have knitting patterns in them anymore, unless it's actually a knitting magazine. But I think that Women's Weekly always has a knitting pattern in it, or a crochet pattern. I know that this one sometimes does. Looks like it does in this one. But at the same time, it has the Slimming World voucher. So we didn't have one last week, but we have one this week. It went on sale on January the 28th to February the 10th. So it will be on sale. You can get it tomorrow in the shops. If you purchase it, you can get a voucher. It will take your joining fee, which is £9.99. You won't have to pay for that. And if you're online, it is £15. So get yourself one of those if you want to join your local Slimming World group. Other offers where you're saving money is the offer to bring a friend to group comes back in for February for the Free Food Festival. From the 9th until the 22nd of February, you can bring a friend to group. And if you bring a friend to group, you'll get a voucher to get £5 off, so you won't have to pay for your next meeting. And the more people you bring, the more vouchers you get. Now, I do know that in the autumn and the winter months, they did a very similar thing, and people brought their friends and their family in, and they're still actually they banked up their vouchers and they used them in January because they found it, money can be a bit tight just after Christmas, and it's worked really quite well for them. So if you want to bring someone along, and you'll get a voucher for your next meeting. What else is on? I've had wind of this one. And I've messaged my consultant Amy, and I said to her, was I dreaming in meeting last week? Did you say there was going to be a £5 voucher in Iceland if you spend £30 on food products in there, whether it's of the Slimming World range? And she came back to me and said, yes, but it's not until tomorrow. So Don't know where it's going to be. I was scanning through. See, I do my research. I was looking through. I looked on the Slimming World blog. I looked on Slimming World Lifeline. Couldn't find this £5 voucher. But apparently, yes, there is a £5 voucher for Iceland coming through at some point. So I think it's tomorrow. I don't know where it's landing, but I do know it's going to be landing online. So there'll be a coupon. You spend £30 in Iceland on your Slimming World meals, you will get a £5 off of those. And also there is an offer as well on at the moment in Iceland. So where it was the Muller Lights, that offer is stopped. They have now got a Slimming World branded tray. So, and I had a look on Iceland as well prior to doing the video, and it looks like it's all your meals, and it's but it also includes the sweet potato fries. Well, it does on Iceland online. So if you purchase them, 3 of those at least, you will take home with you a Slimming World tray, which is probably really great to do your Slimming World chips in or tray bake. So that's a really good, it's really worth having that. So they're some of the things that are money off and some vouchers, which is really great for you. The next thing is the magazine. The March-April magazine is out this month. It came out last week. I got my copy in my meeting. Don't forget, do not buy this in the shops. Buy it at your meeting, $1.95. It is a lot cheaper. I will be popping one of those in the giveaway later on, probably along with one of the new hi-fi honeycomb bars. I think it's worth having those. So go and have a look. Lots of nice little bits in it. I love the stories. I do also like the recipes, and this is great if you're first starting out and you're not too sure what to do. Every time the Slimming World magazine comes out, they have this section, and I think this is really great. It's a 7-day guide at a glance, and it's a meal plan. It's a meal plan for 7 days, and they do this all the time. So every magazine you get, you'll have this in, and it gives you everything. It gives you all of the recipes, and it also, I'm sure, yes it does, it gives you the shopping list. Again, I think that is so doody. I really like this, especially if you're starting out and you're not sure where you're going with it. It's great, and that's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-page spread. Every month you get that, and look, there's lots of nice bits and pieces in here. We write the labels, loads of nice bits. We're going into the spring, aren't we? We're going into Easter as well, so there's lots of nice, bright, springy, lovely, filtered pictures. Instagrammable. I can't do it. Mine look like a tram smash. If I really posted my stuff on Instagram, what I eat, I do sometimes if I'm like being really artistic. But if you saw the state of everything else around it, you'd be like, oh my God, Leanne. So get yourself your magazine. That's really cool. What else is going on? I am so proud of these 2 amazing women. Now, it was Jane Day that told me about them. And it's the Slimming World podcast. Now, it's Claire and Anna. Over Christmas, I did a lot of walking on my own when Paul wasn't well over Christmas, and I found out about the Slimming World podcast, and it was actually when I went to go to the hospital to get my bloods, and I started listening to them, and I was absolutely hooked. Loved it. It was almost like I was like, wow, that's exactly like, it reminded me of what I did with the weigh-in way back when I used to do it for Weight Watchers, and it was one of the things that made me think, do you know what, I do need to do it again. And I love the podcast, although it's not, you don't physically see them, you sit there listening, but it's great if you're on your commute. They have been doing it for well over a year now. They did it they've done, I think it's about 60 odd episodes on there, and there's a back catalogue of absolutely lots of different things around Slimming World. I think it's forgive me, I think it's Claire that's a consultant, and Anna who's actually a member of her group. They became really good friends, and Anna is actually a journalist, so she's got all those skills. and they created this podcast. It's actually an award-winning podcast as well, I believe. I think that it got nominated for an award. But this is the amazing thing. Slimming World have actually recognised it, and they are sponsoring it. So you probably, if you've been in your group, you've probably been told that news anyway. But I am so proud of them for doing that, because, you know, although I'm been listening to them for 2 months now, I feel like I know them very well. They've got some really lovely episodes on there. Go and listen to them. You can either get it from Spotify or you can get it from Apple. I'll put the links down below if I can find the links. I will put them down below down there, and you can listen to them, because it's a nice. And I like to think of this as well, like it's sort of like a meeting in between meetings. And what I like about them is they really talk about their struggles, and it's not. You can tell, although it is edited in, and Anna does a great job at editing it, you can tell that they are just real women that are just on the plan, on the journey. They are doing it, ups and downs, you know, getting through life. Go and listen to them. I think they're brilliant. I love them, and I would really encourage you to support them. Other things that are coming on now, we have... I'm going to read here, because we had the Free Food Festival. It's February, it's free food. That's what they're talking about. So apparently it's a thing with Slimming World. Obviously this is my first February, but I know that Debbie mentioned that there was a Free Food February last year, and she did a blog every day for Free Food February. Debbie, I do not know how you do it. I don't know how Tracy does it. I couldn't do a daily vlog. It would drive me to distraction. I just couldn't do it. So I take my hat off to you. But it is the Free Food Festival, and you will have been given one of these in your meeting probably last week or the week before, and we're all going to end up having a taster day, and who doesn't like a taster evening? But the idea is that you cook your own ingredients, cook your own recipe, and bring it along, write it out for everybody to share, and try and make it with as many free foods as you can. They did say you can use a little bit of Syns, but the idea is that you actually end up creating a free food recipe and sharing it with the rest of your members in your group. And it is a part of a competition. So I'm going to read a little bit over here. So throughout February, we are celebrating something truly life-changing and unique to Slimming World. The reason for losing weight with food optimizing is so much easier than any other way, through free food. Free food. I can't put my teeth in. And part of this huge celebration, for the first time ever, we're running a cook-off competition for members. This is going to be really great for a lot of you. For me, I'm like... free food disaster, probably for me. But I actually think it's really cool, because from the beginning, either the 9th or the 16th of February. So actually, some of you will be doing this this week or the following week. We're actually doing ours on the 16th. So we're actually doing ours on not this Monday, next Monday. So I'm going to make sure I'm going to make something. Your consultant will let you know when it is. But they'll be asking you to cook up your favourite original culinary creation. See, they can say it much better than me. Like, Slimming World recipe, culinary creation. That is a lot better, isn't it? And take it along to your group for a taster session, like no other. And we'd love your dish to be as free as it can be, although you can use healthy extras, which we know about because we did last week, and a few Syns, which we're going to talk about later, if needed. It must be your own personal creation, but big enough for everyone to try a little bit of. Now, I think that I'm not going to really sit there and think, oh my goodness, I've got to try and, like, I don't know, pulling everything out of the cupboards and trying to make my own creation. I think if you're really up for this, go for it. I think it'd be really great. And I think now the guy who's going to, there's going to be 10 national winners apparently. And the guy that's going to be there doing it with you, who's going to be judging it, is the Great British Bake Off champion. I don't watch the Bake Off, so I don't know who he is, but his name is David Atherton. So those of you who watch the Bake Off, you will know who he is. There's a little video. I can't put the video in here for copyright reasons, but I will post it on my Facebook page so you can have a look if you're interested. But it's a great time if you're a newcomer to Slimming Well, to go along to a group and join up with a group, because actually I do like taster evenings. I don't know whether I can do my own original creation. I could do my mum's chicken and sweet corn casserole, although I do think it's a little bit of a cheat, really. It's not really a nice, when you think of all the other things that people are going to do. It'll probably end up being in a book, which would be really great. Reminds me, tomorrow as well, one of the other things that's coming out is the free food cookbook, the 80s egg cookbook, and that comes with your 12-week countdown. There we go. So that's the news. I think that's news. Nothing else. No, that is it. That's the news for this week. You can tell I'm so professional tonight. It's Sunday night. I'm a bit tired. I was doing the youth group at church today. A little bit knackered. Never mind. We are going to talk about the third part of the Slimming World journey, wherever my book is. Here is my book. So profesh. So profesh. The third section is Syns. Now, if you go to page 62 of your book, you enter the world of sinning. No, it is not Syns that we know. It is Syns, which stands for synergy. These are Syns. These are foods that have a higher calorie intake. Therefore, they are limited on the plan. And the reason we limit them is because they can be damaging to your overall weight loss. So you'll be told how many Syns you'll be allowed as part of the program. So this is where, don't take it from me. Remember, I am your layman. I go and pay my way exactly the same as everybody else. I am not a consultant. I am not a dietitian. I don't tell you what you should or shouldn't be doing. But if you go to your group, or if you go online and you register online, you put in all of your details and they will tell you how many Syns you'll be allowed. In the same way as the Weight Watchers, I'll tell you how many points you'll be allowed a day. And it's probably a little bit like that. So there is an overall, and I've sort of found this out as I've gone along. There's an overall rule that 20 calories is about 1 Syn. But if you think that some foods are, especially like the ready meals, are made up of free food as well as all the other bits and pieces, they could be a little bit less in Syn. So for instance, like I mentioned about the Marks and Spencer Balance for You meals, I was really shocked that some of them were 2 Syns and 2.5 Syns. That was the lowest, and actually it was a big portion. But then actually when I got because I did have one of those, it is literally 3 portions, and one part of it is the fish, because they've changed the way you do it. It used to be in the round box, but now it's in a square box. The salmon is in one section, the potatoes are in another section, your carbs, and then your greens are in the middle. So bear that in mind as well. So there is a whole list in your book and also on the app of the Syn values of everything. If you go online, there are lots of different Facebook groups. There's Pinterest, where you can Google it now. We have the Google. You can Google how much your Syns are in there for certain things, and it will tell you. And depending on your weight, whether you're male or female, you can have between 5 and 15, or 5 and 20, or 5 and 25, depending on, again, your height, your weight, whether you're male, whether you're female. So do go to group or do go online to find that out. Now, I use Syns in the way I use my Syns is I use them for treats. So I do like a little bit of chocolate. So I do have my chocolate, or I do have my ice gems. I shared them with you before. But one thing I don't do so much is look at these things called, and if you go to the back, where was it? What page is it? I wrote it down here. 87. It's page 87. Here we go. Savvy Syns. So the whole idea of Slimming World is to get you to eat in a more healthier way, and looking at your plate, and also looking at your Syns. in a healthier way. So I use mine for chocolate. I use mine for a packet of crisps. I use mine for iced gems. You've seen that. I've shared that with you. However, they actually try to get you to look at this. I've never looked at this until now. Okay, so they talk about savvy sins. Now, these are sins like, for instance, you know, this whole thing, the myth about the avocado, and this, like the avocado gate they have, you know, there's so many sins in avocado. It's a healthy fat. Again, with the nuts and your seeds and that, they're healthy fats. So they're sort of like, if you incorporate them into your meals, and I know that Jane does this, that where she makes sure that the meal that she cooks, and she has 3 square meals a day, but she includes her sins in, and actually it's probably a better way of doing it, because what ends up happening if you do use your sins for your sin bag, and we've all done a sin bag where you put your portion out your 15 sins of bad foods in a bag, and that's what you have for a day. There is a temptation of having, especially if they're a trigger food. That's one of the reasons why I don't have bread, because it will trigger me and I want to eat the whole lot. But one of the things that you, even if you are marginalising how many chocolates or any of the foods that you know are trigger foods, they can actually tip you over the edge. And if you go into that bad habit, it's quite dangerous to do. So I actually quite like the idea of these savvy sins. It was actually Amy brought it up earlier on in the meeting last week, and I thought, yeah, actually that's a nice way of doing it. And in the book, back of the book, everything is sectioned out, A to Z. You've got the alcohol, you've got biscuits, you've got your breads, you've got your cakes, you've got your cereal bars, you've got your cold slaws and salads, your crisps and snacks, dairy products, dips and dressings. But again, see, all of these sorts of things, add your butters and your spreads, your drinks, your hot drinks, cold drinks, eggs, but it's eggs although eggs are free, if you use oil in them, apart from firelight, you have to be careful. And if you had like a frozen omelette, that's their 3 sins for a frozen omelette, 100 grams, there you go. So it all tells you about those in there, and also your fruits. So when your fruits are canned and when your fruits are dried, how many I nearly said points then, but how many sins they are. So they are your sins. The other thing is you need to think about is if you're going to go out, and if you go to the next page, it's got all your fast foods and eating out. Now, if you go out, some of the brands are on there. So I think that we've got Greggs, we've got Subway, Wagamama's was definitely on there. We went to Wagamama's yesterday. I had a ramen. I really fancied ramen actually, and it was 9 sins, which was great because I hadn't eaten any sins that day, so I was well within my sin range. But again, that's your savvy sins, yeah. But if you wanted to do something, if you really knew you were going out and you didn't want to count your sins and you were being good, look at your menu before you go out, and there is something called flexi sins. Now, this is not where in Weight Watchers where you could save your sins up, or you could reduce the amount of sins you ate on one day and then save them up and have a whole whack of sins that you could all just blow out at the weekend on alcohol and stuff. Some people do that, and that is fine if that's what works for you, but Slimming World actually don't recommend that. The idea is that you if you have like a flexi sin, it's like you know that you're going to be bad, but to stop you from going into that mentality, because what Slimming World is also about is about trying to retrain your brain, as far as I can understand anyway. It's trying to retrain your brain so you don't have that guilt feeling and think I've blown it. So if you say, right, I'm going to go out and I'm going to go out for, I don't know, a hen do, or somebody's leaving, we're going to go out for Chinese, and I don't want to be that girl who ends up sitting there saying, oh, I can't eat this, can't do that, I can't do this. Look at your sins and try and go for the lower things, but limit yourself to say, today I'm going to eat 50 sins for that meal, and drinking if we're going out clubbing that night, and cap it at that. But then don't beat yourself up. That was just for that little period of time. Don't make a habit of doing that, but because you have wanted to celebrate, because you want to let your hair down, do it. Because the whole purpose of this is we've got to do this for life. And if we're going to put boundaries around ourselves, we are going to fail at some point and think we've had enough of this. So it's getting into that mindset that it's okay for a treat, but it's not okay every day or every week. So I think that, and I haven't actually done Flexi Syns yet, but if that ever happens, I am going to definitely use that. One of the things I will say about Flexi Syns as well, if you are going to go out on a bender, and you know who you are, if I am looking at you and I'm talking to you, I'm not judging you, because actually I don't know who you are. But if you sit there and think, yeah, actually, do you know what? I could go out and I could have, I know somebody down there who likes the Jaeger bomb, comes back a little bit too merry. The next day, what do you have? And I think that if you were to sit there and think, okay, I've got a hangover, or I'm going to go out, that's when you need to really plan. Make sure you have a cooked breakfast the next day, but have the stuff in so it's a free cooked breakfast. So have your bacon medallions, your either your Slimming Roll sausages or your Linda McCartney free sausages, your tomatoes, your baked beans, your mushrooms, your eggs, so you've got all that in, so you don't then go for a dirty kebab. And we have all been there before, but protect your weight loss, and then you won't go into that, oh, I've blown it. Because I think that's one of the biggest things, and about that's why I don't really like the word sin. I think they should change it, but hey, that's how it is. So the other thing I wanted to talk about around that is there's a couple of other buzzwords which I've heard floating around. Hey, look, there's your hangover cure. I was just talking about it. One of the things that there's a couple of buzzwords that go around the group, and I was like, nobody's really explained it to me. And one of them was a tweak. It's considered a tweak on Slimming World. Well, what's that? And that's not in the book. Well, it might be, but I don't think it is. I haven't actually seen it in there. A tweak is this. So it's basically where you're using free food in a way that you wouldn't normally eat free food. Now, the one that I can think of, there's two that I can think of. I don't think one of these actually is a tweak, but there are some that are definitely are tweaks and some that aren't. So, for instance, if you were to make chickpeas, so one of the things we used to do in Weight Watchers was we would get a can of chickpeas and we would dry them out on a tray, and we would put like peri peri salt on them or something, stick them in the oven, dry them all out, and have them like a snack, like peanuts. That is considered what they call a tweak on Slimming World. And the reason why it's called a tweak is because you're using free food and you're changing the way that it should be, and actually you could eat a lot more of it that way. And actually you shouldn't be doing that, because it's great if it was part of a salad or if it was part of a meal, but it was never intended to be dried and used like that. The other thing that I know that people I've seen people do is that they'll use couscous for an overnight oats, which actually I think is great, because if you're going to use that, and the thing is with overnight oats, if you're going to use a couscous, you'd probably, if you're sensible, you'd know 40 grams of oats, 40 grams of couscous, and I'm not going to judge you on doing that. Where they say it's a tweak is because somebody might, I'm not saying you would, but somebody may make a whole load of couscous and make like an overnight couscous instead of an overnight oats, and eat just really I suppose binge on it, and that's what it's not ever designed to do. It's supposed to be part of a balanced diet. So I think that when you hear this word tweak, that's what it means. I don't, as I say, I'm not really hot on it. Now, the lady that I do know is very good in this, because she used to be a consultant, is Fropperholic, and she is really good. I think her name's Nikki, actually, and I watched her. She did a great video, actually. I watched it last weekend, about your misconceptions of Slimming World and the myths and busting those myths. And she does a great video on that, and it came out last weekend. I'm going to link it down there because I think that was really good. It is worth watching because, as I said, I am layman. She has actually been a consultant, so she does know what she's talking about, and she has kept her weight off for 20 years at Target. I think that's amazing that she's done that. So go and watch her video. She also did one on Tweeks as well. She talks about a cake, but I'm not going to talk about that because I've never made that, so I'm not somebody that's averse to talk about that. But that's one of the things that tweak. I've heard people saying it's considered a tweak on Slimming World. That's never been explained to me. Go and look at that video because that will explain it to you, and you'll probably have heard it and you're going, oh, that's what it is. Because I think that if you sit and watch that, that will help you. Right, that is it. That is all about your sins. So you now know your the Slimming World food optimizing is your free foods, your speed foods. What else is it? Your healthy extras and your sins. That is food optimizing in a nutshell. So if you're ever lost and you're not sure where you're going with it, or you want to refresh, come back and watch these videos, because they've got 3 of them up. That is it in a nutshell. But, and I will say but, I am, and I've said it several times, I am just a member. You need to go to group, because the biggest part of losing it is being part of a group or being part of an online community if you're an online member, because that's where all of the magic happens, and all of this is explained to you in the group, and also you can help, and you've got access to your consultant 24/7. Well, you know, Amy's really good. I text her, she comes straight back. You know, you build relationships, and it's really great to be around like-minded people. So do get yourself to one of your groups, whether it's Weight Watchers, whether it's Slimming World, whatever one it is, wherever way you're doing it, because it's really important to have that community. Let's do a competition, because we are in Free Food Festival, as I said, and as I said to you, I'm not very good at the cooking bit and making up lots of different things, but I've got ideas about what my favourite free food meals are. I want to hear from you. Write down in the bottom what your free food meals look like. What's your favourite free food meal? And also, within a day, you know, like what I eat in a day videos that people do, write in there what you would do. So I want to hear from you. What's your favourite free food meal? Part of that, what speed food you put into there, because you've got to have your speed, quarter of your plate, remember. And then I want you to put down what your favourite healthy extras are, and what do you use your sins on, because it's really great, and we can build up a community and we can help each other. That's what it's all about, guys. I'm going to go, because I'm going to edit this video now, so all nice little bits and pieces, and I'm going to see less of you next week.